Lawrence Taylor of the New York Giants was widely seen as the most intimidating and fearsome defensive player in NFL history. His name alone struck fear across the league. But away from football, Taylor's life took a dark and troubling turn. The former Giants linebacker was arrested during a drug sting in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, shocking fans and the entire NFL. Later, the football superstar was sentenced to 6 years of probation for sexual misconduct. This is what happened, and why some NFL legends believe Lawrence Taylor's legacy was permanently destroyed. Welcome. If you enjoy this, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Lawrence Julius Taylor was a man who seemed almost impossible to control. Born on February 4, 1959, in Williamsburg, Virginia, Taylor was the first of 3 sons born to Clarence and Iris Taylor. His father worked as a dispatcher at the Newport News shipyards, while his mother was a schoolteacher. From an early age, Taylor showed a restless energy that often crossed into danger. He was a difficult child, his mother would later recall. As a youth, Taylor focused on baseball, playing catcher, and didn't begin playing organized football until he was 15. He didn't play in high school until his junior year. Even then, he wasn't heavily recruited. Still, something about his raw athletic ability and fearlessness caught the attention of college scouts. After graduating from Lafayette High School in 1977, Taylor moved on to the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, where he wore number 98 and slowly began forming the identity that would terrify offensive lines for more than a decade. Originally recruited as a defensive lineman, Taylor saw limited action during his freshman year, mostly on special teams. His sophomore season was slowed by injuries, but by 1979, he transitioned to linebacker, a change that would reshape the position forever. In his junior year, he recorded 95 tackles, 5 sacks, 7 forced fumbles, and an interception. During his senior season, Taylor shattered records with 16 sacks and 22 tackles for loss. He was named a consensus All-American and Atlantic Coast Conference Player of the Year, an honor rarely given to defensive players. Coaches were stunned by his reckless intensity. North Carolina assistant Bobby Cale recalled that as a freshman on special teams, Taylor would jump 6 or 7 feet into the air to block a punt, then land on the back of his neck. He was reckless, just reckless. UNC later retired his jersey, a clear sign of the impact he made in only a few short years. In his junior year, he recorded 95 tackles, 5 sacks, 7 forced fumbles, and an interception. During his senior season, Taylor shattered records with 16 sacks and 22 tackles for loss. He was named a consensus All-American and Atlantic Coast Conference Player of the Year, an honor rarely given to defensive players. Coaches were stunned by his reckless intensity. North Carolina assistant Bobby Cale recalled that as a freshman on special teams, Taylor would jump 6 or 7 feet into the air to block a punt, then land on the back of his neck. He was reckless, just reckless. UNC later retired his jersey, a clear sign of the impact he made in only a few short years. Taylor's NFL debut on September 6, 1981, was fairly quiet, a 24-10 loss to the Eagles. But it didn't take long for his dominance to become impossible to ignore. By the end of his rookie season, he recorded 9.5 sacks and was named both NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year, the only player in history to win both awards in the same season. Taylor's influence went far beyond statistics. He forced coaches and offenses to rethink everything. Washington Redskins coach Joe Gibbs famously said, "We had to find some way to create a special game plan just for Lawrence Taylor. You didn't do that very often in this league, but he was one player who taught us that lesson the hard way. We lost ball games." By 1984, the Giants had become a dominant force. Taylor recorded 4 sacks in a single September game and led a defense that was reshaping the NFL. He became a central figure in the Big Blue Wrecking Crew, a unit that struck fear into quarterbacks and offensive coordinators alike. His career was filled with explosive moments, including the unforgettable sack in 1985 that ended Joe Theismann's career with a compound fracture to his right leg. Taylor was shaken by the incident, screaming for paramedics to help Theismann immediately and insisting it was an accident. Still, the memory of that play would remain permanently etched in NFL history. The mid-'80s marked the peak of Taylor's dominance. The 1986 season cemented him as the most feared defensive player the NFL had ever seen, as he recorded 20.5 sacks. He became one of only 2 defensive players to ever win the NFL MVP award, and the only one to do so unanimously. He led the Giants to a 14-2 season and ultimately to victory in Super Bowl I. Yet even at the height of his success, Taylor admitted he felt empty. He later said, "When the Super Bowl was over, everyone was so excited, but by then I felt deflated. I'd won every award, had my best season, and finally won the Super Bowl. I was on top of the world, right? So what could be next? Nothing. The thrill is the chase to get to the top, and then nothing." By his second NFL season, Taylor had already begun using drugs. At first, he was clever enough to pass drug tests by submitting a teammate's urine, but his addiction quickly spiraled. At the height of it, he spent thousands of dollars a day on drugs and women. His personal life grew increasingly chaotic. On one occasion, he showed up to a team meeting still handcuffed from the night before, following a bizarre incident involving women testing a new type of restraining device. His behavior was extreme, yet his performance on the field made him nearly untouchable. By 1988, the NFL stepped in. Taylor failed a second drug test and was suspended for 30 days. He entered rehab, then returned and continued to dominate, recording 15.5 sacks that season while playing through a torn pectoral muscle. Head coach Bill Parcells would later describe one game Taylor played through severe injury as the greatest game I ever saw. But these same years quietly planted the seeds of personal destruction that would later overshadow his football legacy. The mid-90s WWE era was a difficult period for the company. While WWE still showcased true in-ring excellence from stars like Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels, it struggled to find its identity after the end of the Hulkamania boom and before fully embracing what would become the Attitude Era. That uncertainty created an opening for a celebrity to step into the spotlight. That celebrity was New York Giants legend Lawrence Taylor, who faced Bam Bam Bigelow in the main event. At the time, the decision was controversial, and even today many fans dismiss it outright. Taylor's entire WWE career consisted of just one match, and he never traveled the road or became a regular presence. Still, when separating the performer from the person, the storyline and the match itself were stronger than they are often remembered. The feud began at the 1995 Royal Rumble. Bam Bam Bigelow, alongside Tatanka as part of Ted DiBiase's $1 Million Corporation, failed to win the vacant WWE Tag Team Championships. He suffered a humiliating loss when he was pinned by the much smaller 1-2-3 Kid. Frustrated and embarrassed, Bigelow later encountered Lawrence Taylor at ringside, laughing with his entourage. The moment quickly turned physical, planting the seeds for a WrestleMania clash. While it may seem strange to book Bigelow in a WrestleMania main event after a loss, the decision actually strengthened the story. Bigelow was shown as powerful yet vulnerable, still dangerous, but no longer unstoppable. That vulnerability made it believable that Taylor, despite being a non-wrestler, could survive against him. WWE further supported the angle by showing Taylor training with Diesel, giving him credibility while also allowing Diesel to pass along star power, even as his own world title match was moved out of the main event. When WrestleMania 11 arrived, the match exceeded expectations. Bigelow delivered what was arguably the most high-profile performance of his career, perfectly playing the monster heel while carefully guiding Taylor through the match and selling his offense in a believable way. Taylor, meanwhile, showed unexpected athleticism and intensity, proving himself to be one of the most capable one-time celebrity performers WWE has ever seen. With Pat Patterson serving as guest referee, the $1 Million Corporation backing Bigelow, and a group of NFL stars escorting Taylor, the spectacle felt worthy of a WrestleMania main event. While Lawrence Taylor's personal choices clearly damaged his legacy, and Bigelow's momentum was reportedly stalled soon after, their feud remains better than its reputation suggests. After retiring in 1993, Taylor struggled to adjust to civilian life. He launched a company called All Products, which initially rose in value, but he was later defrauded by stock traders, losing hundreds of thousands of dollars. He also faced legal trouble, pleading guilty to filing a false tax return in 1997. His appearances in television and film, including Any Given Sunday, The Sopranos, and The Waterboy, brought visibility but little stability. As a result, Lawrence Taylor's post-football life became defined by repeated legal issues, reflecting an ongoing pattern of personal struggles and reckless behavior. Even decades after dominating the NFL as one of the most feared linebackers in history, his actions away from the field continued to draw public and legal attention. In 2009, Taylor's personal problems resurfaced in a serious way. On November 8, he was arrested in Miami-Dade County, Florida, for leaving the scene of an accident after striking another vehicle with his Cadillac Escalade. This was not the first time. In 1996, Taylor had totaled his Lexus in a single-car accident and left the scene, later claiming he did not believe the law required reporting a one-car crash. In the 2009 incident, he was released on a $500 bond, and the other driver later filed a civil lawsuit seeking $15,000 in damages. These events highlighted a repeated pattern of recklessness and disregard for legal responsibility that continued to follow Taylor. Taylor's legal troubles took a far more serious and disturbing turn in May 2010, when he was arrested at a Holiday Inn in Montebello, New York. The charges included felony third-degree statutory rape for allegedly engaging in intercourse with a 16-year-old girl and third-degree patronization for allegedly paying the underage girl $300 for sex. The girl told investigators that her pimp, 36-year-old Rashid Davis, instructed her to tell Taylor she was 19, a claim Taylor supported. Davis was later charged with federal child trafficking. Taylor initially pleaded not guilty to the charges, which also included endangering the welfare of a child. Police stated they were led to Taylor's hotel room by the 16-year-old girl, who was a runaway forced into prostitution. Taylor posted $75,000 bail shortly after his arrest. In December of that year, his attorney, Arthur Aidala, sought to have the charges dismissed, arguing that Taylor's Fourth Amendment rights had been violated during the hotel search that produced physical evidence, including condoms. The court denied the request. In March 2011, however, Taylor accepted a plea agreement. Hall of Fame linebacker Lawrence Taylor appeared in court dressed entirely in black and pleaded guilty to 2 misdemeanor charges, soliciting a prostitute and misconduct. Because the victim was only 16 years old, she was legally unable to give consent. In court, Taylor admitted under oath that he had sex with the girl and acknowledged that DNA evidence linked him to the act. "She told me she was 19, Taylor explained. The plea deal resulted in a sentence of 6 years of probation, and Taylor was required to register as a sex offender. He was also ordered to pay now $300 in fees. State Supreme Court Justice William Kelly ruled that Taylor would be classified as a low-risk, Level 1 sex offender, a designation based on legal requirements rather than a judgment labeling him a predator. In other words, Aidala made it clear that Taylor would not be considered a predator and requested that his probation be transferred to Florida, where Taylor was living at the time. Prosecutors highlighted Taylor's cooperation in broader human trafficking investigations, noting that he had assisted authorities across multiple jurisdictions. Lawrence Taylor was the end user in the market that creates more traffickers, one prosecutor said. They need to be held accountable. It's a long fall from grace. Another prosecutor also acknowledged Taylor's cooperation in federal investigations, despite the seriousness of the charges. Taylor chose not to speak with reporters, while his attorney and business manager expressed hope that he could move forward. Even after resolving the statutory case, Taylor's legal troubles and personal turmoil continued. By 2016, he was living in Pembroke Pines, Florida, but problems followed closely. In June of that year, Taylor's wife was arrested for domestic violence after allegedly striking him on the back of the head with an unknown object. Within the following years, the marriage ended in divorce, a major personal setback that coincided with additional legal issues. In May 2017, Taylor drew public attention after auctioning off the Vince Lombardi mini statue he received for his Super Bowl 41 win, a move widely viewed as a sign of financial or personal strain. Shortly after, he pleaded guilty to driving under the influence following a September 2016 crash into a stopped police car in Palm Beach County, Florida. Breathalyzer tests taken 5 hours after the crash showed Taylor's blood alcohol content at 0.082 and 0.084, both slightly above Florida's legal limit of 0.08. Taylor's responsibilities as a registered offender continued to complicate his life. In December 2021, he was arrested for failing to report a new address, a requirement under sex offender registration laws. He was released after posting $500 bail and blamed the mistake on his recent divorce. The issue surfaced again in July 2024 when Taylor was arrested once more for failing to properly register a new residence in Florida after turning himself in. He was released without bail, but still faced criminal charges. Taylor's attorney described the incident as a misunderstanding and stated that Taylor would plead not guilty. Giants owner John Mara addressed Lawrence Taylor's arrest by calling the situation very sad and disheartening. According to ESPN, Mara made his remarks while attending a ceremonial event where the New York Giants and New York Jets formally submitted their bid to host a Super Bowl to the NFL. Speaking briefly, Mara said, "It is obviously very sad and disheartening, but beyond that, I don't want to make any further statement on it." He declined to elaborate, signaling that the organization would not comment further while the legal process continued. His remarks marked the first official response from the Giants organization following Taylor's arrest, reflecting the somber mood surrounding the situation while maintaining a cautious public stance. Also present at the new Meadowlands Stadium was former Giants running back O.J. Anderson, who offered support for his former teammate. Anderson urged patience and restraint, stressing the importance of understanding the full situation before forming opinions. "Before you voice your opinion, let's get all the facts." "We don't know," Anderson said. In moments like this, former teammates often rally around one another, explaining that Taylor was already under immense pressure. In situations like these, players understand that their former teammate has their support. He is dealing with so much that they try not to become another distraction, but he knows they have his back. Taylor's agent, Mark LaPelter, had previously stated that the Giants organization continued to support Taylor, one of the most iconic players in franchise history, despite the serious nature of the allegations. Moving on, former teammate and fellow Pro Football Hall of Famer Harry Carson publicly showed his support for Taylor during the legal proceedings. Carson, a longtime defensive leader for the New York Giants, was among those from Taylor's football past who stood by him as the case moved through the courts. In January 2011, when Taylor appeared in court to plead guilty to misdemeanor charges of misconduct and patronizing a prostitute, Carson was present in the courtroom. As Taylor arrived, Carson greeted him with a supportive handshake, a gesture widely seen as a sign of solidarity during a difficult moment. Reports at the time described Taylor's arrest as casting a heavy shadow over his extended Giants family, with Carson being one of several former teammates who offered quiet support rather than public condemnation. The situation highlighted the complex emotions within the organization and its alumni, many of whom struggled to balance Taylor's legendary on-field legacy with the seriousness of the charges he faced. President Donald Trump's decision to invite former New York Giants linebacker Lawrence Taylor to the White House sparked significant controversy and renewed criticism across social media and political circles. The appearance drew immediate attention due to Taylor's criminal history and the broader political context surrounding the event. Newsweek reported that it contacted the White House for comment about Taylor's invitation, sending an inquiry by email outside normal business hours. As of publication, no official response had been given. But why does that matter? Taylor had previously appeared alongside Trump at campaign rallies, making their association a matter of public record. However, his presence at a White House event came at a particularly sensitive time, as Trump faced increased scrutiny over his past relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, the convicted offender who died in a federal jail cell in 2019 while awaiting trial on trafficking charges. The controversy was further fueled by ongoing public backlash over the Trump administration's refusal to release additional records related to Epstein. Despite earlier promises of transparency, Trump attempted to deflect questions about Epstein, at times expressing frustration that the topic continued to dominate public discussion. Earlier this month, Trump told reporters that Epstein had stolen Virginia Giuffre, one of Epstein's most prominent accusers, from Trump's Mar-a-Lago club, where she worked during the summer of 2000 at the age of 16. That statement raised new questions, including from Giuffre's family, about how much Trump knew about Epstein's activities, especially given that Trump continued to associate with Epstein afterward. Trump later stated that he did not know why Epstein was recruiting young employees from Mar-a-Lago, and said that learning about it led him to cut ties with Epstein and ban him from the club. During the event, Trump signed an executive order restoring the presidential fitness test for American children and announced plans to revive a national sports council. The initiative was presented as an effort to promote physical fitness, athletic participation, and healthy lifestyles among young people. Taylor stood alongside Trump in the Roosevelt Room with several other well-known figures from the sports world, including professional golfer Bryson DeChambeau and Kansas City Chiefs kicker Harrison Butker. Those in attendance were formally introduced as members of the President's Council on Sports, Fitness, and Nutrition. So Taylor's presence at the White House quickly sparked backlash online, with critics questioning whether it was appropriate to feature him at an event centered on children's fitness. During the executive order signing, Taylor briefly addressed the audience, saying, "I'm just proud to be on this team. I don't know why. I don't know what we're supposed to be doing, but I'm here to serve, and I'm here to serve you. So I'm going to do the best I can for as long as I can." Trump, speaking about Taylor, praised both his football legacy and their personal relationship, calling him the greatest defensive player in the history of the NFL. "A friend of mine for a long time. Too long, right, Lawrence?" Trump said. He added, "Lawrence Taylor, he's an incredible guy and just been my friend a long time. Knew him forever." Criticism continued to build online. Social media personality Brian Krasenstein wrote on X that Trump had featured Lawrence Taylor, a registered sex offender who assaulted a 16-year-old, at the White House while announcing the President's Council on Sports, Fitness, and Nutrition initiative for kids, calling the move sickening. Julie Roginski, a former Fox News and CNBC contributor and co-founder of the nonprofit Lift Our Voices, also weighed in, writing, "Lawrence Taylor is a registered sex offender who was arrested for assaulting a young girl. Someone needs to ask MAGA why Trump hangs out with so many child predators." MSNBC host Chris Hayes echoed those concerns, posting that on the same day Virginia Giuffre's family was speaking out about how survivors are treated, this was who appeared at the White House. Tara Setmayer, a former Republican communications director, added her own criticism, writing, "Trump sure does like to hang out with offenders caught with underage girls. Add Lawrence Taylor to the list." Let us know your thoughts in the comments section. And before you leave, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Victory and Vaults so you don't miss the next one.